So good morning, all of you. So you must have seen similar articles in the newspaper, right? Like this is today's newspaper. So if you see, I'm not sharing screen. So India abstains on Sri Lankan vote at UN Human Rights Council. So these are the articles that you see in the newspapers on a daily basis, like what is happening in Sri Lanka and why India is abstaining. Recently, India has abstained from Russia, or India. There is also an article on India-Russia relations. For example, what is happening in Russia, Ukraine, how does it affect India? So all these are the basic things that you see in the newspapers. But as a beginner, you may not be understanding the full story, like why or what is the major relation between India, its neighbors, and what are the technical terms that you hear in the international relations. So there are a lot of terms that you hear in the international relations. For example, legacy apart, okay, or strategic autonomy, or multilateralism, unilateralism. So what we are trying to do is give you that basic outlines. What you are దానిపైన డైరెక్ట్ గా ఈ టీచరింగ్ రాదు అంతసేపు. So what we are trying to do is let's say understand the story from different perspectives. Like we'll start in a chronological order, that is how India foreign policy started. Like did it start only after 1947 or was it there before 1947? Then what makes international relations so special, right? And why is it important for you to understand the past to appreciate what is happening right now? So we'll go in 3 or 4 layers. Okay, so to understand international relations, there are certain prerequisites. One of the prerequisite is geography. Okay, you need to understand Indian geography nicely to appreciate international relations. Okay, next, some technical jargon, like what is India's neighborhood, Indo-Pacific region, and other areas. So in the first few classes, we will try to understand how Indian foreign policy evolved. Only once you understand how Indian foreign policy is evolving, it is easy for you to appreciate the rest of the articles. Now, the first and most important thing, India is a subcontinent. Geographical point of view, India is a subcontinent, right? But how clear are we in understanding India's map? See, there are multiple maps of India. The most important thing is map released by Government of India. Okay, there is a map called as political map of India. So that is very, very important. Every other map you see may be distorted, or it might represent reality but not official version. So in diplomacy, you have to remember official version is more important than what is happening at the ground reality. Okay, so be very clear in understanding these things. For example, I will show you the map. So this is how I want to proceed with various parameters. First of all, we'll discuss the story of how India's foreign policy originates, right? Then what is the meaning of emerging global order? Okay, so we are talking about India, and there is also a global order, and there is also terms like geopolitics, global geopolitics, geoeconomics. All these are technical terms. You need to understand the meaning of each and every term mentioned in this screen. Okay, only then you will appreciate the international relations. If you don't understand the meaning of any single word, it may be like, I know, but you don't exactly understand the depth. Two different things. Knowing the topic, like knowing the meaning of unipolar, bipolar, multipolar is very easy. If there is only one pole, it's unipolar. If there is only two poles, it's bipolar. Multiple poles, multipolar. So there is no logic in explaining them. But what is the implication? Implication is more important. For example, do we need to have a world with unipolar or bipolar or multipolar world? Have we seen unipolar? Have we seen bipolar? Are we seeing multipolar? Okay, where does India want to be? Does India want to be in a bipolar world, or India wants to be in a unipolar world or a multipolar world? What are the advantages and disadvantages of each and every stage? Okay, is India a pole in itself? Are we a superpower to claim that we are also a superpower? right? Not only claim to live up to the expectations. So there are multiple parameters, right? So the term foreign policy, first of all, before going into all these things, what is the meaning of the term policy? You must have heard so many policies, right? National education policy, family policy, health policy, foreign policy. So what is the meaning of the word policy? Set of rules and guidelines is a policy. Mhm. Okay. Tell me some rules for foreign policy, like for foreign relations. What can be the rules and regulations? We should have a representative. Okay. Hmm. What do policies do? What is difference between policy, rule, and regulation? Detailed documentation of decisions making based on history and future implications is policy. Okay. Mm-hmm. Policy, the way we look forward to make any new regulation set of guidelines must and should be fulfilled to proceed. Okay, so policy is more of a direction, whereas rules and regulations is a limitation. That is what we are trying to tell, right? Okay. Mhm. Right. So all of you are on the same page, right? More or less. Policy is more of a vision document. Policy guides us on which path to walk. Okay. But within policy, we will have certain principles, certain value systems. So value systems, rules, regulations, integrity, there are a lot of things. And foreign policies are determined, as Rajini was mentioning, from historical point of view. Okay. Not only history, geography point of view, right? Then we will have our own limited resources point of view. India is a $3 trillion economy. So Indian economy is limited. Are we a $3 trillion economy from 1947? No. Okay. Even from 1947 onwards, we did not have the same size of economy. Now we are almost a $3 trillion economy. So our resources, our capacity, our needs and desires. For example, the present requirement of India is different from the past requirement of India. So there are a lot of things that will decide or set boundary for a policy. So policy is ever evolving. There is no firm policy, like there is no fixed pattern of policy. And as Dr. Jaishankar has divided, he divided Indian foreign policy into 6 stages. Okay, 6 stages of Indian foreign policy. We will see all these things over a period of time. Okay, because if a question comes, mostly the question will come from application point of view. For example, let's say the present foreign policy after 2014 is called as Modi Doctrine, because Prime Minister Modi is leading it. So it is called as Modi Doctrine. Earlier it was Manmohan Doctrine or Gujarat Doctrine. There are different doctrines, and different doctrines will give different perceptions to Indian foreign policy. So that is the significance. And most important thing in foreign policy is question will definitely come on the application of Indian foreign policy. For example, the Indian value system, Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam. Okay, all of you know Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam, right? So Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam is a very important determinant of Indian foreign policy. So whenever India follows a foreign policy, Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam has been an important theme. Okay, next. Foreign policy is theory. Okay, international relations is application of our theory. So having theory is easy, right? Saying, India is a good country is theory. Is India really a good country in application? Who should tell it to us? Other countries, right? Being an Indian, declaring myself as India is a great country is very easy. Patriotism and all those things. But if Bangladesh people say India is a good country, then that is the test of India's foreign policy. So there are multiple countries within the world. You have what we call as a sphere of influence. The term is SPHER, sphere of influence. Okay, sphere of influence is one thing, and neighbors are one thing. Okay, so the first and most important thing Dr. Raja Mohan says is you have to win your neighbors. Okay, India shares land boundary with so many countries and maritime boundary with few countries immediately, like Sri Lanka, Maldives, Bangladesh, Myanmar. Whereas land boundary with China, Pakistan, Afghanistan, and Nepal, Bhutan. Okay, so if you cannot have a good relation with your own immediate neighbors, okay, you cannot have good relations with the rest of the world. Why? Because if we have continuous headaches with our own neighbors, we cannot focus our energies on other areas. Okay, so one more requirement of understanding foreign policy is you have to have a different set of ideas. For example, BJP has its own set of ideology, Congress have its own set of ideology, even CPI, CPM have its own set of ideologies. And say, for example, we have a lot of minority population in the country. Yes, Muslims. There are a good number of Muslims in India. If we don't have good relations within our own country with Muslims, like there is a communal right every other day, we cannot have good relations with Islamic countries. So our own internal country politics matters to foreign relations. So the summary is international relations is a part of internal security, economy, society, geography, and every other aspects like art and culture. Okay, so international relations should not be treated as an isolated subject. It's a group of everything. Okay, and mixing all these things will make more sense. Okay, for example, trade, energy security, connectivity, roads, everything is interlinked. No, so these are the neighborhood, like India's neighborhood first policy, right? More or less with China also. So these are our neighbors. What is the importance of each and every country? Where do we connect? Where do we diverge? That is an important thing. After that, recently, the most important geographical or geopolitical theater is Indo-Pacific region. The Indo-Pacific region, land boundary and maritime boundary, Indo-Pacific region. After Indo-Pacific region, we have major countries like China, USA, Russia, Japan, and Africa and EU are not countries, they are groupings, right? But we treat them as one country. So we can either discuss India, Germany, India, France, India, Britain relations, or we can club everything and say India, EU relations, European Union relations, or India, Africa relations, because Africa is 54 nation country, continent, right? It's a continent, not a country. So, but do we actually have good relations with all the countries? No. So we generally tend to club Africa as a one grouping and discuss. Then we have syllabus-based groupings like BRICS, SCO, and other aspects, right? So this is what UPSC expects in your syllabus copy. First of all, UPSC expects the foreign policy, right? Then whatever bilateral, multilateral groupings that India have with other nations, that is also expected. Then comes the application part. Okay, and from last 4 or 5 years, UPSC is asking only the most latest things. Okay, most latest things. That means what is happening right now, not what happened 20 years ago, 30 years ago. In today's world, within Indo-Pacific, if there is something new, what is India trying to do about it? Okay, next. So before going into the maps and all those things, I want you to understand some simple concepts. Okay, first understand this very question very importantly. See, all of you know this India, right? And we have China. Okay, so the only question I want you to write in your international relations or discussion is this: is India foreign policy its own foreign policy or independent foreign policy, or is India reacting to China? Is India having its own foreign policy, or is everything that India does is actually a response to China? Right? So there are certain parameters that you need to understand. As I have mentioned, the basic parameters are who are, see, this is just simple summary of India's foreign policy, right? The major story is always this country. Okay, one is China, the other one is USA. Either this relation is discussed or this discussion is discussed in most of the topics. Okay, the guest actors will be Russia. Okay, but every time you discuss any international relation whatsoever, either this fellow will be there or this fellow will be there, right? For example, if we discuss India's neighbors, we will always discuss in the context of China. If we discuss maritime security, that means Indo-Pacific region, again it will be USA, right? So technically speaking, there is a push, there is a geopolitical phenomena that India should be either with USA or India is against China. But in reality, we want to have our own space. That space is called as strategic autonomy. Okay, that space is called as strategic autonomy. So the first term that you need to understand in international relations is national interest. Okay, national interest. It's always about India. India first and India last. That means everything is about India or for India. Okay, because for UPSC purposes also. So foreign policy is all about national interest. So if I join hands with USA tomorrow to get a drone, that is national interest. Why? I need national security. Okay, if I buy S-400 missiles from Russia, that is again for national interest. If I help Sri Lanka, that is again because of national interest plus my ethos, Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam. So everything is about national interest. That means putting my own interest first is called as national interest. But doing it for my own welfare and not for anybody else, that ability to do things is strategic autonomy. Okay. In simple terms, strategic autonomy can be the ability to align with the different countries based on interests. Okay. Strategic autonomy means the ability to align with different countries based on my own interest. Okay, right now, let's say I needed aeroplanes, I will align with France. Okay, I needed drones, I will align with Israel. I need, let's say, irrigation technology, again Israel. I need something else. For example, I need more money from UAE. Okay, I need investments. UAE have money, I need investments, so I will align with UAE. I don't consider it as an Islamic country or any country. What I need is interest. So this ability to multi-align, see, these are all terms that you need to remember. This ability to multi-align is strategic autonomy. So strategic autonomy is a theory, whereas application is multi-alignment. Okay, that means, is India a friend with everyone? See, leaving Arctic and Antarctica, right? Okay, India have relations east, west, north, and south, every direction. If you think about it, do we have friendship with Australia? Yes. Do we have friendship with North American countries or North American continent technically? South America, Africa, right? Europe. Again, within Asia, do we have friendship? Yes, with Russia, with China, Mongolia. We are not living any small country, right? Africa, so many diaspora are there. Like that means throughout the world, everywhere, Indian presence is there. So India is one of those few countries which have good relations with almost everybody. Okay, in spite of all the hatred, we never call Pakistan as our enemy. For understanding sake, in our classes, we call Pakistan as the enemy, right? But in diplomatic parlance, we never call Pakistan as a enemy, right? So that means India is friends with everyone. We try to negotiate. We spread Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam, vaccine, Maitri, and all those things. So this ability to deal friendship with everybody, and at the same time, whenever there is an interest, there is a need. If I do something, that is called as strategic autonomy. Normally, what happens? Jealousy comes in, right? If India is moving closer towards USA, China will be angry. If India moves closer to China, USA will be angry. But India has few countries which can align with anyone. The best example is with Russian case, right? Russia-Ukraine war. It is showing its own strategic autonomy. If you don't have strategic autonomy, what will happen? Pressurize us to believe that we have to hate Russia or we have to be against Russia. Right now, India is taking a principled stand. Okay. Now, this ability to expand is called as sphere of influence. Very important term. Sphere of influence. Sphere of influence means your ability to get things done or have some impact. Okay. So, recapping whatever we have discussed, the first and most important thing is national interest. Everything in UPSC or international relations is about national interest. India needs something, or India believes that something will help India in the long run. Okay. This is national interest part. Ability to follow national interest freely without joining any group is called as strategic autonomy. Right? Strategic autonomy can be visibly seen through multi-alignment. So these are the things. So national interest when freely done without any external pressure is strategic autonomy. And strategic autonomy in practice is multi-alignment. So right now we are in this stage of India's foreign policy, multi-alignment. Okay. You must have all heard about a term called as NAM, non-allied movement. Okay. During 1960s, 70s, we had this foreign policy of non-alignment. Non-alignment now has slowly evolved into strategic autonomy, which is nothing but multi-alignment. Right now, as of in 2022, India is practicing this foreign policy. We don't come under anybody's influence. We do some things for our own national interest. So that is one important term that you have to understand. Okay. Now, having said that, we'll go back to our chat. So first understand the geography of India, then you will understand the complications very easily. So as you can clearly see on the board, this is what India is at the grassroots level. That means at reality. In reality, this is what India is. Okay. The part in the yellow is Gilgit-Baltistan, that is taken away by Pakistan. Okay. The part on the right hand side is called as Aksai Chin, that is taken away by China. Then you have Siachen Glacier, and you have the Ladakh area and Jammu and Kashmir area. Okay. So out of all this territory, a lot of land has been taken away by Pakistan and China. Right? You can see LOC, right? The blue line. The blue line is LOC. Whereas Gilgit-Baltistan and Aksai Chin. The reason you need to understand this is because if you can see on the top of Gilgit-Baltistan, there is this Durand line, red color line. Yes, Durand line. Okay. So the Durand line is a part to India. This part. Okay. So technically, India and Afghanistan are neighbors. If you see the Durand line, India and Afghanistan are officially neighbors. We have a land boundary with Afghanistan. But in reality, do we have access to Afghanistan? No. Why? That entire territory is claimed by Pakistan. Okay. So that is a major theme. That means our own neighbor, Pakistan, is cutting access to one more neighbor, that is Afghanistan. And above Afghanistan, you can see it's a Central Asia, the Tajikistan. Okay. If I go into Afghanistan here, a little bit to the left, okay, I can access the entire Central Asian country. That means India, which had access to enter into Afghanistan and then to Central Asian countries, the interrelations are cut off by Pakistan. So that's a huge problem. Okay. Next. China is a very big neighbor of ours. And there is a buffer state between China and India, that is Tibet. So it's like a sandwich, right? China, Tibet, and India. If India and China are two breads, Tibet is the topping, right? So it's a buffer state. These states are called as buffer states. But right now we follow a policy called as One China policy. That means we have officially recognized Tibet is a part of China. Tibet is officially part of China. It's called as One China policy. Hong Kong, not Hong Kong, sorry. Hong Kong, Tibet, all this belong to China. Okay. So what happened because of this? There is no longer a buffer between China and India, right? That means, see, forget Tibet. Now China and India are directly touching each other. I mean, they are directly sharing the border. Earlier it was China, Tibet, and India. So there was some buffer, no friction. Right now frictions have increased. The best example is Galwan Valley. Okay. After 1993 border peace and tranquility agreement, India never had a problem with China. but only in 2020 we had a border issue with China. That clearly shows there is a unsettled dispute between India and China. Okay, this part, this entire part is a huge problematic territory between India and China. So China is not only happy with that, China wants to extend its influence. So this small country is called as Bhutan. Okay, Bhutan is very integral to India's national security and Bhutan security also. That means it's like a state of India, but it is having a separate nation status. Okay, so what China is trying to do is create a wedge between India and Bhutan. It wants to break the friendship of India and Bhutan. So it has recently attacked this particular area called as Doklam Plateau. See, this small line is there, na? Sikkim. Okay, it is called as chicken neck corridor because it's like a chicken neck, right? It's a very slim thing. So that is why it is called as chicken neck corridor. And China wants to attack that area and affect India and Bhutan relations. Not only that, China also claims part of Arunachal Pradesh. Right? China claims part of Arunachal Pradesh as its own. So these things will clearly tell you that on the right hand side, you have China. On the left hand side, you have Pakistan. With both the major nations, we do not have a settled boundary. Yes or no? We do not have a settled boundary with either our friend Pakistan or with China. So when you don't have settled boundary with your own neighbors, you will always have some issues with your neighbors. So let's imagine today India is moving towards becoming a $5 trillion economy. India is working for a $5 trillion economy, Atmanirbhar Bharat, everything is going well, stock market is doing fine, people are buying, shopping, everything happened. Then suddenly, let's say India and Pakistan started some war like Kargil. I mean, Pakistan is occupying. India won't officially willingly start a war, right? Let's say Pakistan have sent some terrorists. What happens because of that? Our stock markets will collapse. People who invested in India will go away. They will take our money. So rupee will collapse. So every time you have an unsettled boundary with your neighbor, you cannot happily say, I will only focus on economy. Even if you are focusing on economy, your neighbor wants to have some war. It wants to collapse you. Okay. So what will China or Pakistan gain by this? Now understand the sizes of economy. What is India's economy size? $3 trillion economy. What is the size of Pakistan economy? See, economy is very important. I told you, right? To understand IR, you need to understand geography. You need to understand the logic. What is the size of Chinese economy? Let's say India is around $3 trillion economy. Pakistan is $300 billion economy. $300 billion economy. Whereas China is around 15 to 16 trillion dollar economy. Okay, so India is 3, China is 16, Pakistan is $300 billion economy, right? So for such a small state which is already collapsing, it is totally dependent on money of China. Okay, so China is giving around 50 to 60 billion dollars towards Pakistan. So China have that kind of money, it can give $60 billion just like that to Pakistan. So Pakistan is technically under the total influence of China. So what do Pakistan have to lose? Nothing. It's already collapsing. Nobody is investing money in that except America and China. If America stops giving more money, it is totally dependent on China. So if China wants to control India, indirectly you can ask Pakistan to send some troops, attack India. Pakistan will not lose anything, but India will lose a lot of money. And that is also a happy thing for China. Again, this may not be done in the reality, but it is all perception. There is a fear. This fear is called as two-front war. Two-front war. One front is China, the other front is Pakistan. And there is also a concept called as 2.5 front war. 2.5, 2.5 or 2.1/2. Okay, that means internal security like Naxalism, terrorism within the country, China and Pakistan collectively is called as 2.5 front war. So the summary of this map is Whenever there is a question about India-China relations, you can literally reproduce this map, right? So we have issues with Arunachal Pradesh, Sikkim, Himachal Pradesh, Uttarakhand area, Ladakh region, and all the way till Siachen Glacier. Okay, so the eastern part, north and eastern part of entire India is under stress from China. Okay, it may not attack us, but the fear that it will attack us is more important. Okay, the logic being, China is laying roads into Nepal, into Bhutan, into Myanmar, all the way till Bangladesh. That means China is making friends with all our immediate neighbors. China is developing roads, railways, borders. After Galwan incident, China started developing helipads in Ladakh region, I mean the Aksai Chin region and all these things. So that clearly shows that China is here to stay. Every day you may not see war, but the constant pressure on India that China is putting is very important. On the other hand side, Pakistan is happy to keep Kashmir burning. Okay, so that is how international relations work. Okay, now this is one more map to understand India-Kashmir relations, India-Pakistan relations, right? When you see Kashmir or Jammu and Kashmir in the news, or Jammu and Kashmir is having terror issues, most of the times the names you see is Kupwara and Baramulla, which are on the top left corner. Kupwara and Baramulla, this region, right? So, if someone says Jammu and Kashmir is having issues, technically they are talking only about this region. Okay, the rest of the Kashmir is not even in our hands right now. At the grassroots level, you cannot go to Aksai Chin, you cannot go to Gilgit-Baltistan, you do not have access to Pak-occupied Kashmir. The only thing is in the blue color. Okay, whereas Ladakh is peaceful, this part is Jammu, this part is Kashmir. Only one part of entire Jammu and Kashmir is having it. So recently, Amit Shah went to Jammu and Kashmir, right? He made a statement. After 75 years of independence, we have around 1 crore or 2 crore number of tourists visiting Kashmir. So that clearly shows how much Pakistan is hurting India till now. Okay. This is official map of India. Do you notice any difference between the earlier map and this map? What is the difference between the map I showed you earlier and this map? This is official map of India. Why can't we disagree with the one China policy to resolve all China's disputes? Yes, again, I will explain you in the due course of time, but simple logic is people who live in glass houses should not throw stones at others. That means if you start poking at Tibet, China will also start poking on Kashmir issue. So we will never settle that issue. So this is official map. So according to India, the entire Gilgit-Baltistan, Aksai Chin, the Saskam Valley, Siachen Glacier, official Siachen Glacier is with India only. The entire part belongs to Ladakh. So everything, every disputed territory that we right now have can be put under one label, that is Ladakh. Union territory, Ladakh is having all these regions. So is India having a direct neighborhood with Afghanistan? Yes, according to official map, India and Afghanistan are friends. What about Gilgit? Gilgit-Baltistan? Where is Gilgit-Baltistan? In Ladakh only, right? So this part, the other part is Aksai Chin, this part is Gilgit. Okay. So, Gilgit and Baltistan. Okay. So this is a difference. In grassroots level, this is how it is, but officially, this is how we see. Right? Okay, be very clear. This is what you have to support. This is what you should discuss. So if you open Google Maps or any internationally published maps right now available in the world, most of them will show this map. This part, the green part will be shaded in the lines or something, claiming that India does not actually have it. But officially, India owns all these territories. So obviously, if you're an Indian and a government servant, you will not be happy with a distorted map. This is the map I want the world to see, because maps are very powerful. 50 years from now, people will actually start believing that all these territories do not belong to India. That is a very sad state of affairs. Technically, we have given hope on reclaiming all those lost territories. Okay. Now, here is one more sad story. The size of the land that is lost. You can understand, right? So demography wise also, if you see, Kashmir is dominated by Muslims, whereas Jammu is dominated by Hindu population, and Ladakh is mix of everything. Okay. So Ladakh is also Kargil area. You can see that we have lost more territory than we have gained, or we retained, right? Like Gilgit is bigger than Ladakh itself. Okay, so we have a huge amount of area that has been occupied by China, and Papa occupied Kashmir also. Yes, this is a sad state of affairs. Okay, so there was also a discussion that we should demilitarize Siachen Glacier. Siachen Glacier is the highest battlefield in the world. It is the only thing that is separating Pakistan and China from directly meeting with each other. So in Middle East, Siachen Glacier. So there has been discussion that Siachen Glacier should not be having any army, etc., etc. But all of us know that the moment you withdraw army, it becomes a occupied territory. Okay, clear? See, every point that you are seeing right now is what you will apply in international relations. There is one more area with Pakistan that we have disputed territory, that is called as the Sar Creek area. Okay, the name is Sar Creek. It's in the Gujarat area. Okay, as the map on the left side shows, it's on the Gujarat area, but it's a riverine dispute. It's a riverine dispute between India and, when you don't have settled boundaries, people will start claiming. For example, the green line is still where Pakistan claims the boundary, whereas red line is still where India claims the boundary. If you have a determined boundary, if you have a wall between you and your neighbor cannot say, the land beyond wall is mine. But as long as you do not have a wall, your neighbor will, whenever he wants to pick up a fight with you, he will come and say, this belongs to me. So this is one more area where India and Pakistan have issues. I hope you can notice the importance of this map on your own before I tell anything. See, the name of this red line is called as China-Pakistan Economic Corridor. Okay, whatever you see is economic corridor. It's not a road, it's not a pipeline, it's a corridor of hundreds of kilometers. Okay, cars will have power stations, nuclear plants, roads, railways. Corridors means hundreds of kilometers of area. Okay, but it is connecting 2 points. Which 2 points? China all the way till Gwadar port. Okay, so there is a port in Pakistan called as Gwadar port. Okay, in the bottom. On the top you have China. Okay, so from China all the way till Gwadar, which is in Pakistan, China and Pakistan are constructing an economic corridor. But what is the major obvious thing? It passes through, yes, Gilgit. Okay, the problem is it belongs to who? India. So this region of India has been occupied by Pakistan. So neither Pakistan nor China took India's permission to lay roads through Indian territory. So that is clear violation of India's sovereignty. Yes or no? That is a clear violation of India's sovereignty. So that is why India is not a member of Belt and Road Initiative. One of the reasons, not the only reasons, one of the reasons why India refused to join Belt and Road Initiative is they have violated India's sovereignty. Very important thing that you need to remember. And water also gives access to China for a warm port. See, this is a warm port. That means 365 days the water is accessible. Okay, so that is the importance of China-Pakistan economic corridor. Where is Gwadar port? In the map, if you have to mark Gwadar port, where will you mark a Gwadar port? Let's see above map, right? Just see the two maps. Okay, so Gwadar is in Pakistan, right? Just beside Gwadar is Chabahar. Just beside Gwadar is Iran. Chabahar is in Iran, whereas Gwadar is in Pakistan. So the geography is India, Pakistan, Iran. Okay. The reason you need to understand this is if you take India, Pakistan, Afghanistan, and Iran, this geographical part is fixed in your mind. And second thing, we could have directly accessed what? Afghanistan, right? But why are we not able to access Pakistan, Afghanistan directly? Pak occupied Kashmir is there. So that is why we are forced to come all the way to Chabahar and then go into Afghanistan. So it's like we are roaming, right? Instead of going straightly, we are roaming and going to Afghanistan. Very important thing. No? Clear? So you'll slowly understand all these things. And one more thing you need to remember is why Gwadar is important for Pakistan, China. As I said, Strait of Hormuz, Bandar Abbas. This part, Bandar Abbas is there, right? That is one of the most important strategic choke points in the world. There is a term called as a choke point. There are 4 strategic choke points in the world, at least in Indo-Pacific region. Strait of Hormuz is one of the most important choke points. The advantage is from Gwadar, you can directly go into Strait of Hormuz and then into what? The West Asia or Central Asian countries or Europe. Okay, so Strait of Hormuz is a very important point where oil comes from. Okay, so if Strait of Hormuz is blocked, oil energy security will be severely affected. Okay. Right. So again, this map makes more sense, right? If you can see, this is what I was talking about. So because Pakistan is blocking our access to Afghanistan, we are forced to go all the way to Iran and then into Afghanistan or elsewhere. But if we had access to Afghanistan, we would have had access to entire Central Asian region. So that is why Afghanistan is geostrategically, geopolitically a very, very important land. Okay, whoever controls Afghanistan can control the entire Hindu Kush area, the entire gamut. Okay, so that is why Britishers, Americans, Russians, everybody tried to dominate Afghanistan. If you see into the history of India also, most of these people came from the northwest province, so the same Iran, Afghanistan region. So it used to be a very, very important point. And until 70 years ago, the entire thing that you see in the map technically belonged to India or was dominated from India. India was the center of the Britishers, and they used to dominate whatever you see on the map using India, whether it's the eastern side or the Central Asia or Afghanistan, Pakistan. Pakistan was our own land, right? Technically speaking, India was Pakistan also. So that was the advantage. Okay. Now, if you see the one more blue line, this blue line is an important trade route. Okay. Suez Canal and all those things come into the picture in the blue line. So to go into Europe, Central Asia, see these countries above, besides China and above Afghanistan, is called as Central Asian region. European regions, you know, yes, this Saudi Arabia and all this part are called as West Asia. Okay. Technically important terms: West Asia, Central Asia, Europe, and South Asian countries. This is one more concept called as Belt and Road Initiative. You might have heard about it, Belt and Road Initiative. Okay, so technically, this is how China is trying to dominate the world. Whatever the maps, whatever the things that you see on the map, like railway, road, sea lanes, whatever it is, in every way possible. See, you can see the index on the top, right? Economic belt, economic corridor, maritime Silk Road, port, rail, oil pipe, gas line, every way China is trying to expand its tentacles. Okay, if China is an octopus, okay, it has its tentacles all over the world. So all the way till Europe, it has already have a good reach. Maritime, it has a good reach. Roads, it have a good reach. The Central Central Asia, it have a good reach. So this is a huge advantage of China. The problem is India is one of the major countries which have not joined Belt and Road Initiative. Why? India's sovereignty has been violated by China-Pakistan economic corridor. Yes. So why am I showing you maps on day one? Because the more we discuss in theory in IR, you need to have the pictorial memory. At least you should know where Afghanistan is map wise. Then it becomes easy. If you see this map, it comes to internal security and neighborhood first policy also. There are two things. One is golden crescent, the other one is golden triangle. These two are on the right hand and left hand side of India. They are major drug hubs in the world. They are the major drug hubs in the world. Like for example, Iran, Afghanistan and Pakistan is a major drug trade hub. Okay, whereas Myanmar, Thailand and Laos are the golden triangle. So when you have two neighbors which are very famous for drugs, what will happen? When you are in between two drug hubs in the world, automatically there is a chance that drugs will come into India. So in the northeast part, you have a threat from Myanmar. If Afghanistan is having a lot of drugs, that money will also come into India. Okay, that is a yes. One more map to understand India-Africa relations, or India-Europe relations, or India-Southeast Asian relations. Every day, the theme is, if you remember this map nicely, it will show you how well China has influenced every other country. Every country is a Belt and Road Initiative. So obviously China cannot be a member, right? So that they have a China. India and Australia are taking the major exemptions. If Africa, yes, almost entire Africa is taking the help of Belt and Road Initiative. West Asia, Central Asia, yes, Europe, Southeast Asia, ASEAN countries, New Zealand. So that means literally China has spread its influence all over the world using a concept called as Belt and Road Initiative. And when you see the Silk Road, this maritime Silk Road, the cement color lines, it also shows you that through sea lanes also China have expanded its influence. So both in land and in sea, China has already done the groundwork. Okay, when so many countries are under your influence, you obviously will have a lot of network connections, and that is a threat to India. If you see the map closely, almost all the India's neighbors are also part of Belt and Road Initiative. Yes or no? Pakistan, Nepal, yes, Myanmar, Sri Lanka. So our own neighbors, our Southeast Asian neighbors, ASEAN countries, Russia, our friend, everybody is directly linked to Belt and Road Initiative. So that is the power of money. That is the difference between a $3 trillion economy and a $16 trillion economy. Okay, and they are not even leaving the Latin American countries. Even Latin American countries are also under the influence of Belt and Road Initiative, and entire Africa. So when we discuss India-Africa relations, the most common theme is Chinese influence in Africa. China is already influencing a lot in African nations. One last most important map. This is the most important map or geographical territory in India foreign policy. The blue color whatever you see in the dark blue is technically Indo-Pacific region. Okay, the entire region from east coast of Africa all the way till west coast of USA. From east coast of Africa all the way till west coast of USA. This entire dark blue region is technically Indo-Pacific region. So if you just flip the map, which is bigger, India's land boundary or maritime? Just imagine the map in a reverse order. If you see the land boundary is only this much, but ocean is so huge. So anything that happens in the dark blue area will affect India. Yes or no? Why? Why will it affect India? Do you see the 4 red dots on the map? 1, 2, 3, 4. There are 4 red colored dots in the map, right? They are called as 4 strategic choke points. Okay, very important. This is what UPSC have asked in 2022 mains directly. So why should we be discussing about Indo-Pacific region, or what is the importance of strategic choke points? Because 80% of India's trade happens only through ocean. If a country's 80% trade is happening through ocean, and if that ocean is affected, then obviously India's trade will be severely affected, right? And you must have heard something about Quad. Yes, Quad. Quad applies to Indian Ocean. AUKUS, UK, US, AUKUS, Australia, UK, US, that is again ocean. IPEF, Indo-Pacific Economic Framework, that is again ocean. Sri Lanka relations, ocean. So blue economy, ocean. The next $1 trillion economies will come to India through blue economy, that is again through ocean. So maritime security is very, very important, right? Not only India's security, but Indo-Pacific region represents around 60% of global GDP. Okay, so if Indo-Pacific region is unsettled, global GDP will collapse. Automatically, Indian GDP will also collapse. So that is the importance of Indo-Pacific region. Okay. And most importantly for India's energy security. Right? Yes. Where is South China Sea? Where is South China Sea? Where is Taiwan? Around South China Sea. Where is Taiwan? Sorry? Indonesia, Malaysia. So Indonesia is here. So technically, border from Taiwan to Thailand. Okay. So what she's saying is this particular part of the map is okay. So what you see this part of the map, like Philippines. Yes. So below Taiwan, technically the Taiwan region. The concept here is South China Sea is very, very strategically important for China. Okay. And China's energy security pass through Strait of Malacca. Strait of Malacca. So that is why Strait of Malacca is very, very important for whom? China. It is a very important strategic choke point. Okay. And you will also hear something called as 9-dash line in context of Philippines only. So Philippines is special economic zones. So see, again, as I said, maps are very important. There is a concept called as India is exporting missiles to Philippines. India has recently exported BrahMos missiles to Philippines. So when you read that, you need to get your map in your brain, like where is Philippines, where is India, why is India helping Philippines? Okay. Or if you think about it, Quad, where is Australia, where is Japan, where is USA, where is India, why are they collaborating? Okay. And there is a concept called as AUKUS, Australia, UK, US. It's a nuclear deal between Australia, UK, and US. So Australia will have nuclear submarines. Okay. Why will Australia have nuclear submarines, and how will it give India its maritime security? So for all these things to make sense in the long run, when we discuss the theory, you need to remember the map. So Australia is like a straight way to South China Sea, right? Like, if Australia has influence, it can control the entire box. So literally, it is like putting China in a box, or Chinese maritime security in a box. And you have Japan, you have USA. They are friends. Japan and USA are friends. Australia and India are friends. India and Japan are friends. So in between China, it has two enemies. That is Japan and India. Between these two countries, the middle is China. And recently, Taiwan was in the issue in the news, right? So Taiwan is a small island separate from China. But technically, Taiwan also comes under one China policy. So India has officially recognized Taiwan as part of China, but USA says otherwise. So that is also a point of issue between India and USA, or India and China for that matter. So for all these purposes, please remember this map very nicely. Whenever you get time, please keep marking up the map. Map helps a lot. Okay. Last but not the least, so this is how China is trying to circle India. This is called as a string of pearls. String of pearls. So basically, it's a very simple concept. It's not official. There is no official acceptance of all these things. The thing is, on all the sides, China wants to box India. If you think about it, from Bangladesh, Sri Lanka, Gwadar, again CPEC, and the other hand side China, all the four sides of India, China has its own influence, right? So from Myanmar to Sri Lanka, one red line. From Sri Lanka to Gwadar, one red line. From Gwadar to again Pakistan, CPEC. So on all the four sides of India, China is having its own influence. Does that make sense? Yes or no? Anyhow, China is there on the right hand side. Left hand side, Pakistan is there. Two lines. Here, two lines. Totally, India is boxed. This boxing is called as string of pearls. PARLs, pearls, right? It's not official. We also have a counter to string of pearls, necklace of diamonds, and all those things. But these are all just imaginations, or not official, but they are there. There is no official doctrine. Like China does not officially say I have a string of pearls. It says we have constructed a port in Sri Lanka for development, for trade, not for military purposes. But common sense. If I have a road, I can send a lorry with goods. I can also send army. If I have a port, I can send a ship. I can send a submarine also. So already China is having a lot of influence in these regions. Okay. So this is a theoretical part of Indo-Pacific region. So mostly, if you remember the Indo-Pacific map, every other map can be easily understood. So 90% of whatever you discuss will be in this map only. Whether it's maritime security, Indo-Pacific, India neighborhood relations, South Asia regions, IPEF, anything will be discussed only in this map. So be very clear. Next time when I see you, at least I should have some basic, right? Okay. What are the prerequisites for foreign policy that I have said? Like, what do you need to understand foreign policy? Geography is one very important thing. Next is history. Yes. After history, economy. Okay, money speaks louder than anything else. Why money? First of all, if you do you see Israel on the map? Is Israel on the map? Where is Israel? It technically is Israel on the map. Yes, yes, it's in the map. Where? Border. Where is Mediterranean Sea? Which one? Between Turkey and Egypt is Mediterranean Sea. So besides Syria, there is a small strip of land, right? This small land is Israel. Okay, its name is not even mentioned in the map. It's such a small country in comparison. Okay, but we have a very important relation with that country also, right? That means everything that you see will have an implication, right? What happens when India and Israel join hands? We have a concept called as I2U2. Okay, so that means in international relations, you cannot ignore any country, and at the same time, you cannot understand the importance until you see the entire larger picture. Larger pictures are more important than the macro themes. Okay, next, histories, economy wise. Okay, so Israel is a very small country, but it is economically very strong. Now, Russia is a huge country, right? If you see the map, Russia is a huge country, a very vast country. Yes. Now the sizes of economy. What is the size of economy of Russia? See, guess, it's not a test of your knowledge, right? It is just to understand. What is the size of Russian economy without Googling? 10. $10 trillion economy. Okay. Around $6 billion. $6 billion. Ambani have. Okay. Yes, $6 trillion. Okay. Without Googling, right? All this is just guessing. I will explain to you the logics why money is very important in discussion. More than India for sure. Okay. Yes. So there is a very nice book called as Thinking Fast and Slow by Daniel Kahneman. He's a Nobel Prize winning economist. He says, never trust your instincts because most of the times it is wrong. Russia is technically $1.6 trillion economy. Okay, it is around half of, it used to be a superpower. That does not mean it has a huge amount of money. Russia is a collapsed economy right now. Not only before the Russian-Ukraine war, earlier also Russia was around 1.9. Thanks to Russia-Ukraine war, now it must have slided to 1.6 or 1.5. So Russia is not good money-wise. Russia is good influence-wise and weapons-wise. Please remember that distinction. Now, yes. Natural gas plus oil plus coal, again all the importance is gone, right? Russia do not have importance whatsoever in all these regions because everybody is moving towards renewable energy. The major dependent on fossil fuel was USA. It has its own shale gas now. So slowly Russia's influence is coming down drastically. What about Japan? What is the size of Japanese economy? More than India. Okay, guesswork. Sorry, $5 trillion economy. Technically, you are correct. Japan is between $5 to $6 trillion economy. Okay, India 3, China 13. What about USA? So again, technically it's around 20 plus 20, 21, 22. So there is always a subjective argument. The concept is 2016 average approximately. India is around 3. But if you include India's black money, according to SBI reports, it will be $6 trillion economy. So black money, complications, and all these things. We are just going by plain facts, simple facts. Okay. So Russia is having a lot of money problems, whereas China is having also a lot of money. China have its own problems. Then we have India, right? Then we have countries like Brazil, Egypt, Israel. They may not be so great in money wise, but they have their own advantages. Europe, what about Germany? Less than India. What about Britain? Less than India. How less? Maybe in billions. What, Britain? Okay, UK. Technically, United Kingdom is in billions. No? Guessing. No problem. There is no harm in guessing. So what I wanted to tell you is, with the changing times, countries will become powerful, countries will become weak. Okay, but the thing is, what kind of influence do you have? Okay, what kind of network do you have? See, why do everybody believe in Russia right now? If you think about it technically, do India need Russia? Okay, if yes, in which sense? Technically speaking, the only thing that we are afraid of Russia is the legacy weapon dependency. That means around 67% of Indian weapons are directly imported from Russia or Russian technology based. Okay, so the problem is not about buying new weapons. We have new friends like France, Israel, USA. So many countries are willing to give weapons to India in 2022. This was not the case in 1980s. Okay, but the thing is, what do we do with the old weapons? We have a lot of Russian tanks, aeroplanes, and all these things. If they are damaged, if they have developed some technical issues, we are totally dependent on Russia for spare parts. See, the technological transfer is never a part between India and Russia. That means Russia will only give us the tanks, never the blueprint. See, it's not like Mahindra cars, right? You will open the bonnet and you'll understand how to fix this. So they're technically different things. So you need the spare parts, you need the support system. Right now, India is totally dependent on Russia. So this legacy dependency is the actual problem between India and Russia relations. Apart from that, Russia even today have a very good influence in the Central Asian countries. Just above Afghanistan, you see 5 names: Kazakhstan, Uzbekistan, Turkmenistan, Kyrgyzstan, Tajikistan. These 5 countries together are called as Central Asian countries. So Russia even now have a very good influence on Central Asian countries. And Russia and China are friends. Russia and China directly share land boundary. Russia is also part of Belt and Road Initiative. So if ever there is an issue between India and China, the only Asian country which have some kind of influence over China is Russia. So as Raja Mohan says, a neutral China is more helpful to, a neutral Russia is more helpful to India. Okay, but right now what is happening? Russia and China are getting very, very closer. That is not at all a good thing for India. Okay, and there is also a concept called as axis of evil. If you see the map, Iran, Russia, Pakistan, and China together, these 4 are called as axis of evil. AXIS, axis of evil. So Iran is on the left hand side. Iran, Pakistan, China, and Russia. If these 4 countries are together, they are very strong. Okay, Iran, Pakistan, China, and Russia. Okay, indirectly, what is America trying to tell? Every other country is with USA. But is India with USA? No, India follows a concept called as strategic autonomy. I hope everything is making sense, right? So money wise, okay, so money wise, they may not be powerful individually, but collectively they are very powerful. How? A $1.6 trillion economy, Russia, is still able to withstand USA. Yes or no? The entire NATO pressure. See, one small country, like money wise, one small country is threatening the entire world. Russia is having that kind of influence. So money alone doesn't make difference. Money backed with weapons and support from its friend, that is China. It makes a huge impact. So I believe that any single country will have actually importance. If Russia can do this kind of damage to the world, China can do 10 times more damage to the world. If China stops exporting goods and services to the rest of the world, the world economy will come to a standstill. That is the power of China. Okay, so that concept is called as the weaponization of supply chains. Weaponization of supply chains. So China have that kind of influence. Then, as I said, the entire dark blue thing is called as Indo-Pacific region, right? We can also apply it to a concept called as blue economy. There's a concept called as blue economy. So that means a lot of untapped money and resources are there in the Indo-Pacific region. So India needs to maximize its revenues. So if you want to become a $5 trillion economy, software will contribute 3 trillion. Industries will contribute 1 trillion. The one more 1 trillion has to come from blue economy. That is the power of ocean. So we have to harness the money from ocean. So it will be one of the largest contributors to India's growth. So we have to make sure that our Indo-Pacific region is very safe, money-wise, economy-wise, trade-wise. This is a simple map story of India foreign policy relations. Everything that you see in the map has a direct or positive or negative influence in India. We have good influence with West Asia, money will flow. We have a stable Indo-Pacific region, money will flow. If we have a stable relation with our neighbors, money will flow. If money does not flow, what will happen? You won't have friends. Simple logic, right? Why is Russia not having so many friends right now? It has less economy and its future is coming down. Why? Sooner than later, 5 years down the line, nobody will need fossil fuels. By 2025 itself, India will probably have more electric cars. If you go to the market right now, already people are discussing about electric cars, but they are not buying because of lack of range or charging stations. By 2025, everybody will slowly move towards electric vehicles. So our dependence on fossil fuels will come down. Okay, thanks to Russia-Ukraine war, entire European regions have realized that we cannot depend on Russia. Okay, so they will also move towards nuclear energy or fossil fuels or renewable energy. Okay, so like this, slowly the world will suffocate Russia. Everybody will move away from the fossil fuels. Even countries like Saudi Arabia, UAE has realized this. Like there is no future in oils. So that is why they are starting investing in other countries, sovereign wealth funds. So oil is not the future any longer. We will move away from oil. We may depend for 10 more years, but after 10 years, we don't need oil. The Russia's importance will come down. Already indigenization of weapons is happening. India is making startup for weapons and all these things. So India will reduce its dependency from Russia. India will buy more weapons from France, Israel, and America and other countries. So Russian dependency will come down. So that means slowly everybody is moving away from Russia and China. Then the real story will start. So that means by 2047, India will be totally free from legacy influences. Then how will foreign relationships be? So that is what we have to discuss. I hope this map will give you that perspectives. Okay. And Africa is a huge untapped potential. We have huge amount of money in Africa. So that is also one discussion. So like this, everything will make sense. Are we clear? Yes. Any questions? So as you can see on the board, we will discuss how Indian foreign policy have evolved since independence, right? And again, please remember, international relations, ethics, essay, these things do not happen in one day. They will take time. I mean, it will slowly evolve into the understanding. That means first few days, spend good time on understanding the theory. Once you understand the theory, after that, everything else is application. Okay. And the beauty of IR is once you understand the nuts and bolts, like the theory part, same theory repeats everywhere. Okay. So as I have mentioned in the beginning of the class itself, Dr. Jaishankar have divided this evolution of Indian foreign policy into 6 stages. Okay, so we'll just see the headings of the 6 stages and we'll try to understand them. The first one is era of optimistic non-alignment. Okay, the next stage is recovery. The third stage is regional assertion, and then comes the fourth stage, that is strategic autonomy, then balancing power, and now whatever we are right now in 2014 is the sixth phase. Technically we can call this the sixth phase as multi-alignment. Okay, or again expansion of strategic autonomy. So whatever we are seeing after 2014, especially after the second elections of Prime Minister Modi, Indian foreign policy have become more assertive, right? So please be very clear in understanding the definitions. Definitions, the names, the logic matters a lot. Without understanding them, it will always be a problem. So don't assume that you know. Be very patient in understanding the beginning of the classes. There's a mains question hidden behind each and every term that you see on the screen. Now, non-alignment. You must have, all of you know what is non-alignment. Some of you are so the first stage is non-alignment, right? So what is non-alignment? Your PSI or optional, right? Yes. So all of you are experts in IR. No? What is non-alignment? Right. So what can be the main questions? First of all, is non-alignment dead? Is non-alignment relevant for 2022? Is non-alignment relevant for present day India? So these are the main questions. Is non-alignment dead? That means have you given up on non-alignment? Is non-alignment relevant? If so, how? Okay. And what is the importance of non-alignment today? Should we be non-aligned? Is it possible in today's world to be non-aligned? Aligned means what? To make friendship with someone, right? To align with someone. Okay. Do we align with someone? Okay. If we align, in what sense? Are we joining a group? Okay. Or are we joining a idea? Okay. Alignments were earlier based on ideologies. For example, in 1942 to 1962 or 1940 till 1990, the world had what we call as a bipolar world. That means there are two superpowers. Which two superpowers? Either it's USA or USSR. So either I belong to USA or USSR, or I belong to USSR and I don't belong to USA. So either you are with me or against me, right? So right now in 2022, if I align with someone, let's say USSR has been replaced with China. So if I say I'm closer to China, am I saying that I'm very far from USA? Or can I maintain friendship with both USA and USSR at the same time? Okay. Next, what is the purpose of non-alignment? As you can see the timeline in 1946, that means just then India got independence. So from 1946 to 62, the first stage is non-alignment. We just became independent, free from colonial rule. We didn't want to join any one group, right? So back then we didn't have power groups. We only had two groups, that is USA or USSR. So either of the groups, India have chosen something called as a middle path. That middle path is non-aligned movement, non-allied. So not with him or with this person. That was the stage of India. Okay. And one common mistake that we see in today's world is judge the past from present day perspective. Yes or no? The most common mistake is judge the past from present day perspective. That means in 2022, seeing $3 trillion economy where everybody is a software engineer. Okay. Now it's easy for India to blame what? The world. In 1947, only 0.3% of Indian population was graduates. Just imagine, in 1947, when we became independent, only 0.3% of Indians were graduates. Today, everybody is a postgraduate. So we have moved hugely, right? So you should not judge 1947 from 2022 perspective. So blaming Nehru or blaming Indira Gandhi or blaming Prime Minister Modi himself is very easy. But understanding what they have to go through is a whole different scenario. So 1947 India is totally different. We chose non-alignment. Then we woke up after 1962. What happened in 1962? See what is there beside below that we can discuss again tomorrow also. But macro themes in 1962, what happened? India-China war happened. So from 1947 till 1961, we believed that India and China can be friends. We thought actually that India and China are very similar. They are like brothers. Why? Both of us are huge countries with huge population, historically civilized countries. We had good relations. Both of us were colonized by the same ruler. Both of us were suppressed by the same ruler. We had a lot of similarities than differences. Okay, so in 1947, people actually believed that India and China can be friends. Okay, how true were they? Technically speaking, in 1990s, like liberalization time, Chinese economy was, let's say, $390 billion. $390 billion. Okay, India was around $320 billion. So the prediction wise, actually, it was very true. From 1940s to 1970, India and China were very, very similar. Okay, money wise, power wise, influence wise, probably China had a nuclear weapon much earlier than India. But apart from that, we were very similar. So it was not a foolish belief to believe that India and China can be one thing. But after 1990s, 1980s, what China have done, have China taken China to a $16 trillion economy, whereas India stayed back at a $3 trillion economy, right? So in 1962, when China attacked India, that is when we realized that both of us cannot be good friends. They have their own agenda. Okay, that is realism and recovery. Okay, after the recovery part, we had one more thing called as regional assertion. So in 1962, we faced a defeat. In 1971, we faced one of our sweetest victories. What is 1971 victory? Kargil war happened in 1971. 1999, right? Kargil is 1999. In 1971, liberation of Bangladesh. Okay, in 1971, we created Bangladesh. Okay, so that is when we started focusing on our neighbors, right? So that is the story. You have to remember the post-independence consolidation part also. As I said, IR is not only about one country; it's mix of everything. So what happened in 1991? In 1991, two things have happened. One is LPG reforms, then collapse of USSR. Have you heard the name Gorbachev? When? He died recently. Who is Gorbachev? Ex-president of Russia or USSR. So why is he famous for? He is famous for the disintegration of Russia, Perestroika, Glasnost, right? So he is the one who spearheaded the reforms to break the Iron Curtain, that is the USSR's breakdown. Okay, so the story, see, if you understand the timeline that we are drawing, it's like from 1947, 1962, 1971, 91, right? Then after 91, say technically 98 also. Then we have 2014, then we also again have 2019, the present elections, right? So I mean, more or less, it is about the prime minister or the macro phases. So the domestic politics, the economy have a major role in defining the phases of Indian foreign policy. Why? This was a period of Nehru's domination. This was a period of Indira Gandhi's domination. This was a period of LPG reforms. LPG reforms is one thing. At the same time, the world have become unipolar. There is only one superpower right now in 1991. That superpower is USA. Okay, USA is the only power. USSR is disintegrated. So the world became unipolar. So this entire period is bipolar, then unipolar. Again from 91 to 2014, we are technically having a unipolar world. So 91 to 2014, we more or less had unipolar world. From 2014 onwards, we have multipolar. Okay, see, this is not perfect classification, but logically speaking, right now the world is in bipolar world. The world is in bipolar. Now the issue is between USA and China. Okay, so depending on the external factors or India's own domestic politics, Indian foreign policy is divided. Okay, external factors means, for example, if tomorrow USA and China are fighting, that will definitely affect India. How will India be free from strategic autonomy? We have to choose sides or on the reason. Okay, right now, let's say we are choosing strategic autonomy. We are not blaming Russia. Nobody is blaming Russia, right? Russia, we are saying that Russia should stop the war, but we are not actually doing anything to stop the war. But if Russia does something bad, like drop a nuclear weapon on Ukraine, don't you think India will be forced to take a stand? We want to be friends with Russia, but if Russia is doing something like a nuclear weapon, why will India be neutral? India have to take a side. Then automatically India and USA will come closer, whereas Russia and China will become closer. So did India plan that? No. India was forced to take a stand. Okay. In 1991 reforms also, did India choose it willingly? No, it was forced. We had a balance of payment crisis. We had to go for liberalization, privatization, globalization. We had to open our economy. In 2014, what happened? So before 2014, we also have 98, right? What happened in 1998? India declared itself as a nuclear superpower. We have done the Pokhran test and all those things, and officially we are a nuclear superpower. Though in 70s also we conducted, in 98 we officially claimed ourselves as a nuclear superpower. Okay. In 2014, Prime Minister Modi, the present BJP government, came into the power. So the first stage of BJP government was done by leadership-based foreign policy. That means person-centric. So Prime Minister was more visible in foreign policy, whereas in second foreign policy, he outsourced it to Jaishankar. Okay, so as India became stronger and stronger over that period, our foreign policy also became bolder and bolder. Yes or no? If you are too dependent, you will be timid. If you are free, you will be stronger. So from 1947, where we were heavily dependent, till 2022. I will tell you an example. Have you heard about PL 480? No. In 1947, when India became independent, we didn't have enough food grains. So we begged USA for food grains. So through ships, USA have sent food grains to India, wheat and all those things, public law 480. So that means USA, we were literally begging the world for food in what? 1947, not our own choice. Colonial masters have damaged India for 200 years. Okay. In 2022, India is choosing whether to export wheat or not. Understand the difference India is in, right? In 1947, India was begging from the rest of the world that please give us wheat. Okay, in 2022, when India decided to stop the exporting of wheat, the world came saying that, you know, Russia-Ukraine war is happening, we need wheat, please give us wheat. So that is a transition of India from a, you know, totally dependent country to a exporting country. That is the amount of influence that India have. Okay, not only that, when Russia-Ukraine war is happening, everybody said if Putin listens to someone, that someone will be PM Modi. That means India have that kind of relations with Russia and other countries that India can technically stop this war. That is the power of India. So don't you think that we have evolved? Yes or no? From 1947, total dependent. When China came and beat us, like, you know, in the 1962 war, did the same thing happen in Galwan? No. China is afraid to totally attack India because we may not win the war, but we will cause severe damage to China. So China is not willing to go for a war with India. That is the strength of India. Okay, so this evolution of India as a story is also the evolution of India's foreign policy. The story of Indian economy is also story of India's foreign policy. Let's imagine a common concept. Imagine yourself as India. Okay, your friend came to you and asked for money. Like, I need 3,000 rupees. If you give that 3,000 rupees, your friendship will be good. Why? That person is in a very bad position. He lost his wallet or something. He's in a desperate need. He needs money. At that time, if you say, no, I don't have money, I won't give you. Normally, relations will be affected, right? Like, both of you can be mature, but still you'll feel bad. Arey, my close friend, when I'm in real need, I'm not asking for movie or party. I know that I'm in a real need of money. Still, he is not helping me or she is not helping me. Relations will be suffering at least 10%. But at that time, if you have extra money and if you give the 3,000 rupees, knowing very well that your friend is in trouble, don't you think relationships will be maintained? Yes or no? So that is exactly what happens to India and her neighbors. If Bangladesh is in problem, right now Sri Lanka is in economic crisis. If Sri Lanka was in economic crisis, country is collapsing, civil war is happening, no food, humanitarian crisis have happened. Don't you think if India was not giving a single rupee to Sri Lanka, Sri Lankans would have hated India? Yes or no? Then if somebody like China comes and gives money, because China have a lot of money, automatically Sri Lanka will be very closer to India or China? China. Simple common sense, right? So more money with us means more sphere of influence. More food with us, more sphere of influence. More technology, more sphere of influence. For example, when COVID was happening, India created vaccines. What did we do with the vaccines? We gifted it to our neighbors, right? With Nepal, even to Brazil, we sent the vaccines. So that clearly shows that when you are in problem, if I have technology, I will give you technology. If I have money, I will give you money. If I have resources, I will give you resources. If I have food, I will give you food. So in every way, if you are helping your friends will be good with you. If you are not helping your friends will move away to your enemies probably. Why? They have more money. So money is very, very essential. So it is imperative for India to become a $5 trillion economy to maintain good relations with the world. If you don't have money, we don't have good relations. Right now, in the discussion of our own class, I have ridiculed Russia to a very small state. Though it has nuclear weapons and missiles, but Russia is not money power. So without money, in future, nobody will have respect for you. So that is the story of India's foreign policy. V-type came from USA. Yes. Sorry. So now, so till 1998, we declared nuclear power. In 1998, see, two things, one more thing. Very famous quote by Henry Kissinger, a very famous diplomat. There are no permanent friends, there are no permanent enemies, there are only permanent interests. In international relations, there are no permanent friends, there are no permanent enemies, only permanent interests. Whose interest? Every country will have its own national interest, right? Bhutan will have Bhutanese interest. Nepal will have Nepalese interest. India will have India's interest. So everybody following their own national interest is the only thing that will be permanent. Example is in 1971 war, when India wanted to help Bangladesh. Okay. Now, threatened India saying, if you help Bangladesh, we will attack you. In like 50 years ago, when India wanted to help Bangladesh, USA threatened India saying, if you help Bangladesh, we will attack you. Okay. But the same country in 1998, which country? USA. In 1998, when India declared a nuclear status, USA is again the same country which imposed sanctions on India. It said, no, what you have done is wrong. You should suffer. India was punished by USA. When USA says something, obviously 1998, USA was most powerful, right? The rest of the world also said what India has done is bad thing. But from 1998 to 2008, just in a span of 10 years, India have moved, 10 or 15 years, if you take more or less roughly, India have moved from enemy of USA to a very good friend of USA. The best example is 2008 nuclear 123 nuclear deal. That means over a span of 50 years, the relations of enemy have become one of the closest. Why? USA wanted India's help to control China. So no permanent friends, no permanent enemies, only permanent interests. So that ability is called as balancing power. So from what happened from 1998 to 2013 is India have started balancing everyone. India have become more assertive. Then came the 2014 stage, which is multi-alignment. India have started showcasing itself as a strong power, right? Okay, so today's India is more powerful, more strong, more independent, and it has a voice. Okay, lucky we also have good money, not enough money, but decent amount of money. How do we know that? See, from 2014, what is happening? India is having a multi-alignment approach. I have repeatedly told you what is multi-alignment. Then we also are working for a free and inclusive Indo-Pacific region. So the map, the blue color map. So for that entire region, we are working, and we are also collaborating with other countries. Okay. Then we are balancing with different countries like BRICS, RICS, J. Take about it. Who are we balancing? Are we balancing Russia? Are we balancing USA? Are we balancing Europe? Are we balancing West Asia? Are we balancing South Asia? Yes, are we balancing China? Australia? So many different groups. Still, India is friends with everyone. That ability to balance is a very rare thing. Yes or no? See, in the context of Europe, you don't call it as balance. Europe is totally dependent on USA. They have something called as NATO. These are North Atlantic Treaty Organization. So everybody knows that these two people are very close with each other. At the same time, everybody knows these two countries are very closer to each other. But where will you place India? Everybody thinks USA, India is closer to USA. But at the same time, we are not closer to USA. We have our own strategic autonomy. So that is the luxury of India. We may be biased, we might be bending towards USA, but we didn't totally move towards USA. We always go with what? The most important line is issue-based cooperation. What India chooses is issue-based cooperation. Okay, if I have worked with USA, I will be closer with USA. If I am angry on USA, I will blame USA. Recently, what happened? USA gave F-16 aircrafts to Pakistan. Jaishankar very smartly have criticized the USA. But if you are in a camp, that means if you, India and US are in a camp, do you think India could have criticized USA? No. So that is the power of strategic autonomy. Okay. So that ability to balance is very, very important. Now, what is the difference between a hard power and a soft power? Have you heard of these terms? No? Hard power, power, you know, right? What is the meaning of power? Having control is power. What is general understanding of power? Power is the strength. Okay. Do you have power? You have power for its ability to control. Okay. Control for what? So power is simply ability to get things done. Ultimate purpose of power is to get something done, right? Okay, to get that something done is power. Okay, power can be of soft power or power can be of hard power. Hard power means, let's say I wanted to eliminate terrorists. Okay, I wanted to eliminate terrorists. Dropping bombs on them, surgical strike, killing them is hard power. That means I'm using the brute force or military force to eliminate them. So through hard power, I have removed the terrorism. Okay, soft power means winning the hearts and minds. For example, like let's say terrorists are terrorists because they feel there is some injustice. So I have removed that injustice. So I have converted my enemy into my friend. So this ability is soft power. So soft power can be a lot of things. For example, food, music, language, culture, good things, goodwill. Let's say I have sent wheat to Afghanistan. I have built hospitals in Afghanistan. So Afghanistan citizens will feel India has helped us. So that is winning over the minds and hearts. So soft power is influence. Hard power is influence, but in a hard way, like using force as a means. Okay, which is better, hard power or soft power? It's what we call as hybrid, right? Mix. Right now what we are focusing is mix of hard power and soft power. Only soft power will not work on all the places, only hard power will not work at all the places. The mix, the delicate mix is more important. You have to give the benefit of doubt first. When they are not listening, then as Chanakya says, the Dandaniti has to be applied. Okay, so Dandaniti comes last, which is not the first option. Did we give choice to Pakistan to change? Yes, we have given a lot of soft power opportunities for Pakistan. We gave it every opportunity to change. Still, if it is not changing, then we have done something called a surgical strike. Okay, so we are also cooperating on military. So this ability of India right now is soft power and hard power. India is very famous for its soft power. Recently only we have taken the assertive stand of hard power. Clear? Okay. So this is a very, very important line. I encourage you to read it and understand it. If you so recently only Foreign Secretary Vijay Gokhale retired. So he gave this statement saying, diaspora major soft power, yes. So if a foreign secretary of India is saying this statement, that means India's official foreign policy, more or less. Okay. So what did he say? India has moved from a non-aligned past. India is today a aligned state. What are we aligned to? We are not aligned with the nations. We are aligned with interests. There is a difference. So there can be a lot of things, right? Issues means a lot of things. Issues can be about defense. Issues can be about food security. Issues can be about energy security. Issues can be about long-term peace. Issues can be internal security, right? Issues can be about money. Issues can be trade. Issues can be about welfare, human rights, etc. Right now, what is happening in Iran, right? Human rights. Okay. For example, emerging technology. Okay. Then global issues like climate change, terrorism, pandemics. Okay. So there are so many things. I mean, we are not confined to just safety, right? We are concerned, like let's say communication. We need quantum technology, or we need rare earth metals. We need energy. We need exports. We can collaborate on, let's say, maritime security or blue economy, right? Terrorism is a global problem, right? Climate change is a global problem. A sea level rise, that is a global problem. Pandemic, yes. Refugees, that is again also about welfare, human rights. Refugees. What happens in Myanmar will affect India. Yes or no? Where are Rohingyas coming from? Rohingyas are Myanmari population, right? Myanmari citizens. They are coming to India. So how is the problem of one country becoming problem of another country? Because we are a globally connected world. Okay. Swine flu. It started in Mexico. It reached India. Zika virus, India. COVID, India. So anything that happens anywhere will affect India. Terrorism, it will affect India. ISIS, it will affect in India. ISIS is started in Iraq and Syria, right? but it is affecting India. So that means the world is so rapidly changing that we are so heavily dependent on so many ways that anything that happens anywhere will affect India. Yes or no? So that is the issue based. So that means as long as I believe that all these are issues are there, I can collaborate with any country on the basis of need. Yes or no? For example, if I needed more pulses, I should have better relation with Africa. Okay, if I needed drones, agricultural technology, Israel, mines, minerals, uranium, Australia, probably oil, shale gas, something again, USA or Vietnam. There are so many countries, right? Minerals, Afghanistan, Central Asian countries. Trade with China and Russia is important. So the problem is based on always on issue. So we are always aligned with someone, but only for that particular issue. But at the same time, we need not depend their other issues. For example, if I'm let's say dealing with Russia, the good side of Russia I'm aligned with. The bad side of Russia I will blame. Okay, I don't have to say their bad side is also good side. Okay, that is the advantage of aligning only on issues. Okay, clear? So remember these terminologies: non-aligned, strategic autonomy, issue-based alignment. I told you, right, what is strategic autonomy, balancing of powers. So if you understand these things, it's easy for you to understand the rest of the document. So what I will do is I will share this in the group. You just read the 6 stages and the points below the 6 stages. If you understand or if you don't understand any of the 6 stages, we will discuss tomorrow. Because if I overload you with all the information, you will be confused in the day one. That is not the purpose of the class, right? By the end of the classes, you should be happy with IR, not feel burdened with IR. Okay. Any questions? Can we also say that because of lack of other options, we are doing only multi-alignment? Lack of other options as in?
Like sir, for example, we have so many issues with China, but at the same time, for the regional or energy security, also to maintain good relations with Russia, we are participating in the SCO and all. If we have any better alternatives that we can do without participating with China, we will go for that.
Say, for example, see, why let's say BIMSTEC or SARC, okay, or BRICS. If you go by practice, none of these institutions actually helped India, right? But India wants to project it as a global leader. That is why we are participating rather than with expectation of something. Can we see in those lines? See, we don't have any issue with any one country. We have some problems with each and every country. So instead of seeing India from next 10 years down the line, think about India from next 50 years point of view. So if you increase the timeline for India, in next 50 years, India will be a very powerful country. Probably India will be one of those few countries with a $10 trillion economy, right? So we will beat Japan. We will beat probably every other country except USA and China. So by default, we are the next natural successor of superpowers, right? So for that, we are investing from now onwards. We can think also in those lines. See, Japan have its own geographical limitations. Japan have old population, limited size of economy. It does not have any scope for expansion, right? Russia is collapsing onto itself. Brazil do not have that kind of influence like India. The population size. India will be the largest population in the world, and we have very good relations with almost every country. So the inevitable logical conclusion is India will slowly overcome UK, Japan, and every other country and become a strong, powerful nation. And rich gets rich. I mean, the saying goes, right? Like the rich will get richer, poor will become poorer. So if India is becoming a $3 to $5 trillion economy, from 5 to 10, we will naturally progress because everybody will come and invest in India, right? So I believe that the long-term investment is India is a good friend to every country. Unlike any other superpower, India will be that first kind of superpower where it has come there naturally, right? So the advantages, the smartness of USA is also the same thing. Okay, then we'll continue the discussion tomorrow. I will share the PDF, just go through the 6 stages, nothing more. We'll keep it simple. And also there is one more article in today's Hindu regarding is India a bind or its relation with Russia. Okay, read this article and try to find out any keywords that you see in this article. Okay, anything important, what are the things that you understood? We will discuss, we'll start with this article tomorrow, so that I will understand what you understood by that article, what you missed, then how the 6 stages will actually fit, or what are the keywords that are supposed to be there. Okay, we will do this. Please read this article without fail and this PDF. Okay, yeah, see you all tomorrow then.